All right, so get this. Today, we're diving into like the world of boudoir and erotic photography.
Interesting.
Right. It's not your typical topic.
Definitely not.
But it gets really interesting when you start thinking about boundaries.
Oh, yeah, totally. Boundaries in that kind of setting. I bet that's super important.
Absolutely. And that's exactly what we're going to unpack today.
Okay, I'm all ears.
So our guide for this deep dive is Pam Fields.
Yeah.
She's like this amazing professional photographer who specializes in this niche.
Okay, cool. So what's the source material?
Well, she's got this blog post about boundaries in her work.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, it is eye-opening.
I can imagine.
You know, you don't normally associate boundaries and photography. You know what I mean?
Yeah, not really. You think of it more as like an artistic expression.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
But especially in Pam's line of work, it's like a whole other level of crucial.
Makes sense when you think about it.
And the coolest thing, what she has to say is relevant for like everyone, even if you've never even touched a camera professionally.
Really? How so?
Oh, you'll see. It's all about like navigating those tricky situations where you got to protect yourself and your well-being.
Okay, now I'm really intrigued.
Good, because it gets juicy. So Pam's main point is that boundaries are like the foundation for healthy relationships.
I'm with her on that one.
And it's not just in photography. It's in every aspect of life. Work, friendships, family, you name it.
For sure. We've all been in situations where like boundaries got crossed and it just messed things up.
Right. It's like that moment you realize you've been letting people walk all over you.
And then you're left feeling resentful and drained.
Ugh, it's the worst. And Pam actually talks about her own experience with this. She calls herself like a recovering people pleaser.
Oh, wow. I feel that. It's so easy to fall into that trap.
Isn't it? You want to make everyone happy and then boom, you've lost yourself in the process.
Totally. It's like, where's that no button?
Seriously. So Pam breaks down boundaries into 4 main types. You heard to this?
Hit me.
Okay. So we've got physical, emotional, financial, and time-based.
Okay, that makes sense. Covers all the bases.
Exactly. And to really drive home the importance of all this, she uses this amazing phrase.
Yo, what is it?
She says, I get people naked for a living.
Whoa. Okay, yeah, I see your point.
Right. Talk about a situation where boundaries are non-negotiable.
Definitely high stakes.
No kidding. So starting with physical boundaries, Pam's super strict about this rule.
What's that?
She never, ever touches a client without their explicit consent.
Oh, wow. Even for little things.
Even for like adjusting their hair or clothing. It's all about respecting personal space.
Huh, that's interesting. I never really thought about it like that.
Yeah, it's like we all have this invisible bubble around us. And it's about being mindful of not bursting that bubble without permission.
So true. And that applies to any situation, right?
Exactly. Think about it. Have you ever been in a meeting where someone's like hovering over your shoulder?
Ugh, yeah. It's the worst. Makes me feel so claustrophobic.
Right. It's about recognizing those subtle cues and making sure everyone feels comfortable.
Makes you wonder how often we unknowingly cross those lines.
All the time. We're so used to navigating physical space without even thinking about it.
It's like we're on autopilot.
Totally.
Right.
But bringing that awareness into our professional lives, even social gatherings, can make a huge difference.
Absolutely. It's all
Yeah.
about respect.
Exactly. Okay, so speaking of comfort zones, let's talk about emotional boundaries.
Okay, this one's always tricky for me.
I know, right? It's way less tangible than physical boundaries, but just as important.
Because it's about protecting your feelings.
Exactly. It's about not letting other people's emotions, like, drain you or manipulate you.
Oh, yeah, been there. Like when someone keeps dumping their problems on you and expects you to fix everything.
Ugh, the emotional vampires.
Seriously. So how does Pam handle this in her work?
Well, she talks about how important it is for clients to feel safe and comfortable expressing themselves.
Right, because they're already in a vulnerable position.
Exactly. But she's also super clear about the fact that she's not their therapist.
That's a good distinction. It's about setting those professional boundaries.
Right. And she has this great example where she talks about encouraging clients to stop the shoot anytime if they feel uncomfortable.
Wow, even if it means losing money.
Even then.
Yeah.
She's like, their well-being comes first.
That's pretty powerful. Shows a real commitment to her clients.
For sure. It's about putting their needs above her own profit, which is pretty rare these days.
It is. And you know what? That same principle applies to any relationship.
Totally. Like if a coworker is constantly unloading their emotional baggage on you.
Or a friend who always expects you to be their personal therapist.
Exactly. It's about recognizing when you're being pulled into someone else's emotional drama and having the courage to step back.
And protect your own energy.
Yes, because you can't pour from an empty cup.
So true. All right, so we've covered physical and emotional boundaries. What's next?
Financial boundaries. This is where things get really interesting.
Ooh. Okay, I'm all about money talk.
Me too. And this is an area where a lot of people, especially creatives, struggle.
Oh, I can imagine. It's hard to put a price on your art.
Right. But Pam's super candid about her own journey with this.
What does she say?
So she talks about how early in her career, she'd constantly discount her rates.
Why would she do that?
Well, she felt like she had to prove herself. You know, didn't want to lose clients.
Oh, I get it. The classic starving artist mentality.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's such a common experience for entrepreneurs and freelancers.
Especially when you're starting out. You just want to get your foot in the door.
Totally. But Pam emphasizes how detrimental that can be in the long run.
How so?
It undermines your worth. You start to believe that your work isn't valuable enough to charge a fair price.
Ouch. That's gotta hurt.
It does. And it sets a precedent for undervaluing your work.
Makes sense. It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Exactly. And it's not just about money.
It's about what else?
It's about respecting your time, your skills, your expertise.
Right, your energy, all of it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We all know time is money. But it's so easy to forget that when you're trying to please everyone.
Oh, tell me about it. The never-ending to-do list.
Right. And that's where Pam's approach to financial boundaries gets really cool.
Okay, I'm listening.
She doesn't just talk about setting a rate. She talks about building a system
A system for what?
for communicating your value to clients right from the get-go.
Oh, smart. So they understand what they're paying for.
Exactly. For instance, she includes her non-negotiables right in her contract.
Ooh, that's a power move. I like it.
Right. It sets clear expectations and avoids those awkward conversations later on.
Brilliant. So it's not about haggling. It's about establishing your worth.
Exactly. It's like saying, this is what I offer and this is what it costs. Take it or leave it.
I love that. It's about confidence.
Totally. And that's a lesson that applies to everyone, no matter what you do.
So true. Whether you're negotiating a salary, freelancing, or even lending money to a friend.
Yes. Having those clear financial boundaries in place can save you so much headache down the line.
And resentment.
Oh, yeah, big time.
Yep.
It's about preventing those situations where you feel taken advantage of.
Because when you undervalue yourself, others will too.
Preach. It's a reflection of our self-worth. It really is.
Okay, so we've talked physical, emotional, financial. What's the last one?
The big one, time boundaries.
Ooh, yeah. That's a struggle for everyone.
Isn't it? I mean, who hasn't felt that pressure of the never-ending to-do list?
And the constant demands on our attention.
Right. It's like we're living in this culture of busyness.
Where being busy is like a badge of honor.
Totally.
Yeah.
But Pam's point is that true productivity isn't about cramming more into your schedule.
It's about what then?
It's about being intentional with your time and energy.
Oh, that's quality over quantity.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that our time is a finite resource, just like money.
And if we overspend it, we end up feeling depleted and stressed.
Burned out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So how do we prevent that?
Boundaries. Pam talks about how she sets specific hours for client calls.
Oh, smart. So she's not always on call.
Nope. And she designates evenings for family time.
Creating those work-life boundaries.
Exactly. And she really guards her weekends to avoid burnout.
That's key. It's about protecting your sanity.
Right. It's about making sure you have time to recharge.
Because if you don't, you'll crash and burn.
Exactly. And what's interesting is that Pam connects these time boundaries to self-care.
Oh. It's not just about being efficient.
Right. It's about creating a life that feels balanced and fulfilling.
It's about making choices that support your well-being.
Totally. And recognizing that saying no to some things actually frees up more time and energy for the things that really matter.
Like spending time with loved ones or pursuing hobbies.
Exactly. Or just taking a break to chill out.
That's so important.
Right.
We all need time to recharge.
We do. So yeah, time boundaries are all about reclaiming control over your schedule and your life.
And it's about prioritizing your needs.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Which honestly can feel revolutionary in today's world.
It does.
Yeah.
It's like we've been conditioned to put everyone else's needs before our own.
So true. But Pam's story shows that it's possible to build a successful business and a fulfilling life without sacrificing your well-being.
That's inspiring.
It is. It gives me hope that we can all find that balance.
Yeah, me too. It's about making conscious choices and setting those boundaries.
Exactly. And that's what we're going to dive deeper into in the next part of our deep dive. So stay tuned.
Can't wait. And it really is inspiring, you know? It's funny because people think setting boundaries is like this rigid thing.
Oh yeah, like you become a robot.
Exactly. But Pam's approach is actually super nuanced. Like, she's all about having non-negotiables.
Okay, yeah. Those deal breakers you absolutely won't budge on.
Right, but then she also says there's room for flexibility in other areas.
So it's about finding that balance between being firm and being adaptable.
Exactly. It's about figuring out what works for you and communicating that clearly.
Okay, so what kind of non-negotiables does Pam have?
Well, one she mentions is that she has to keep client IDs and photos for a certain amount of time.
Oh, wow. Why is that?
Legal reasons, apparently. It's some kind of regulation, even though some clients might not love it.
Huh, interesting. So it's not always about personal preference. Sometimes it's about external factors.
Exactly, like legal stuff or ethical considerations.
That makes sense. So it's about navigating those complexities and finding a way to be both responsible and respectful.
Right, and being transparent with clients up front, explaining why that boundary is there.
Yeah, communication is key.
Always is. And you know what's funny? Sometimes setting boundaries feels like you're pushing people away.
Right, like you're being mean or something.
Yeah, but actually it can lead to stronger, more authentic relationships.
Really? How so?
Because when you're clear about your boundaries, you're inviting people to interact with you in a way that's safe and respectful.
Oh, I see. It's like setting the ground rules for a healthy relationship.
Exactly, and that can create a foundation for much deeper, more meaningful connections.
That's cool. So boundaries are actually about connection, not isolation.
Exactly. It's about honoring yourself and your needs, so others can do the same.
And that's where self-respect comes in, right?
Absolutely. When we constantly put others' needs before our own, we're basically saying we're not worthy of respect.
Ouch. That's a tough realization.
It is. But Pam's story is a powerful reminder that it's never too late to start setting those boundaries.
And reclaiming your sense of self.
Exactly. It's about recognizing those people-pleasing patterns and choosing to do things differently.
And it could be a challenging process for sure.
Oh, yeah, definitely. But it's so worth it.
Okay, so let's get practical here. How can we apply all this to our own lives? How can setting better boundaries help us be more authentic, like Pam talks about?
That's the million-dollar question, right? And I think it starts with getting honest with ourselves.
About what?
About what boundaries we're neglecting, what areas of our lives feel out of balance.
And what are we afraid of if we start setting those boundaries?
Exactly. What's holding us back? Is it fear of disappointing people? Fear of being seen as selfish?
Or maybe fear of losing connection?
All of that. It's often those deep-seated fears that keep us stuck.
So we have to face those fears head on.
We do. But the good news is, once we identify them, we can start to challenge them.
And create new, healthier ways of relating to ourselves and others.
Exactly. It's about shifting those internal dynamics that have been keeping us stuck.
That makes sense. So it's not just about the external boundaries, it's about the internal work too.
Absolutely. It's about reclaiming our power and choosing to live a life that feels aligned with our true selves.
You know what's amazing? That Pam, a photographer in a field that's often seen as objectifying, is actually this huge advocate for boundaries and self-respect.
It really shows that no matter what you do or where you come from, boundaries are essential for everyone.
It's a universal human need.
It is. We all need to feel safe, respected, and empowered in our interactions.
And that starts with setting those clear boundaries.
And communicating them effectively.
And it's not a one-time thing either. It's an ongoing process.
Totally. It's about staying aware of those subtle ways our boundaries might be getting crossed.
And having the courage to speak up and reaffirm our needs.
Yes, even when it's uncomfortable.
And it's not just about work, right? This applies to personal relationships too.
Oh, absolutely. Family, partners, friends, all of it.
It's about creating that space for healthy, respectful interactions in every area of our lives.
And recognizing that we have the right to say no, even if it disappoints someone.
Without guilt or apology.
Exactly. Because setting boundaries is an act of self-love and self-respect.
And it's not selfish. It's essential for healthy relationships and a fulfilling life.
When we set clear boundaries, we create space for genuine connection and mutual respect.
And that's something we all deserve.
We do. And imagine a world where everyone felt empowered to do that.
That would be amazing.
It would. It would be a world with more respect, understanding, and genuine connection.
And less drama.
Way less. It would be a world where everyone felt safe to be themselves without fear of judgment.
That's a beautiful vision.
It is, and it starts with each of us taking responsibility for our own boundaries.
And encouraging others to do the same.
Exactly. It's about creating a ripple effect of respect and understanding.
One interaction at a time.
One boundary at a time.
One interaction at a time. It's a beautiful vision. What I love about Pam's approach is that she doesn't just talk about boundaries in theory.
Yeah, she actually gives you tools to use them.
Right. It's not just some vague concept. She gives you actual advice on how to put them into practice.
Like what kind of advice?
Well, for example, she talks about having clear contracts, setting up systems for communication.
Oh, that makes sense. So you're not caught off guard.
Exactly. And even scripting out those tough conversations, like when you have to say no to someone.
Oh, yeah, those are the worst. It's so hard to say no.
I know, but she makes it seem less scary.
I like that. It's like she gives you a roadmap.
She does. It's like a workout plan for your boundary muscles.
Uh-huh. I love that analogy. Because let's be real, those muscles can be pretty weak.
They can, but like any muscle, the more you use them, the stronger they get.
So true. And the more we talk about boundaries, the less awkward it becomes.
Right. It's like we're collectively changing the script.
Totally. Normalizing those conversations.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And making it okay to prioritize our well-being.
Love it. So where do we go from here?
Well, as we wrap up our deep dive into Pam's world of boundaries, we want to leave you with a little challenge.
Ooh, a challenge. I like it. Lay it on us.
Okay, so think about one specific boundary you want to strengthen. It could be in your work life, your relationships, even with yourself.
Okay, got it. One boundary.
Now, get super specific. What does that boundary actually look like? What steps can you take to protect it?
So like actionable steps, I can do that.
Right. Maybe it's setting aside time for yourself, learning to say no more often.
Or having that difficult conversation you've been avoiding.
Yes.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, make it concrete. Because setting boundaries, it's an act of self-care.
It's about honoring your needs.
Exactly. Your time, your energy. And it's not selfish at all.
It's essential for a fulfilling life.
Absolutely. So go out there, identify those boundaries that need some love, and start taking action.
You got this.
You do. And remember, you're not alone in this. We all struggle with boundaries sometimes.
That's true. But we can learn from each other.
We can. And by supporting each other, we can create a world where boundaries are celebrated.
A world full of respect and understanding.
That's the dream.
It is. And it all starts with us. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive, everyone.
We hope you learned something new. And that you feel empowered to create those healthy boundaries in your own life.
Because you deserve it.